Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming, and very soon the launch of Stories 3. Now in the build up to that, I've put together this big showcase of every Monstie confirmation we have, and as well as all the Kinship animations possible before the release. The source of this comes from a lot of places, their main reveals and trailers and showcases that Capcom have put out, but also the recent Festa with special reveals there, bit of gameplay, the demo, and various press preview information that we've had, and so on. We'll also reference what's likely or hopeful based on good context. So let's get started with all the new Monsties in Stories 3 specifically, and the Kinships too. First up then we have the Great Izuchi, which has a pretty cool animation as shown by Zach here, which is basically like a slash that leads into a bunch of slashes, so much that it covers the whole screen. As a pretty basic monster from Rise, I think that's fantastic. Then we have Aknosom with Cleansing Fire. In this case, we see it do a little stand-up dance, much like it would do with the ballerina style movement. We've got the bouncing fireballs coming, and then kind of a random charge head rush. After that, we have the Chatacabra, which you will have seen a lot of from the demo very early on. And honestly, it gets a great showing here, generating ice and sort of spreading its hands around the ice to give itself some clubs that it uses to spin towards the target. Ridiculous. We have Tetranodon, also from Rise, of course. The big sumo warrior is doing exactly that. It's creating a kind of sumo ring with an earthen smash, and then going crazy with a Gatling style attack. It's awesome. Next up, we have another Rise monster. We have Bishaton, which is basically just going to throw a unbelievable amount of through, like the attack it has in the game, but times 100, which is a big part of what the fun of Stories is about, going crazy with these concepts. We have Garangom, which is one of the sort of lords of one of the regions of Rise. So you have the two element style of the two arms. So we're using that to create magma on the ground, leaping up and smashing down with ice. It's a pretty cool combination and hilarious with this single drop before the huge explosion. Next we have Somnicanth, and we actually have both versions of this. We have Somnicanth and the Aurora version, slightly different names of this, so I'll just show the regular version here where they're swimming around them on a rock, leaping up with the clam, which they use to sort of flashbang, but in this case explode the target. The Aurora version is just a lot more icy in that use by comparison, as we can see. Next we have two Monsties from the demo, which frankly, why they're here, and I am actually a little bit disappointed in the Kinship. Obviously it's Plesioth and the green version too. It's, you know, a big leap and a generation of a wave and landing that wave on the target. That's not bad per se, but I think like a lot of us were just kind of expecting it to turn and hip check the target. That makes a lot more sense to me. Alright, pretty incredible one. We have Espinas, which is obviously from Frontier and Sunbreak in regards to Rise. And it's just shooting down basically massive explosive fire shots. One of the coolest though is obviously going to be Ray Dow as another new addition to Stories, obviously coming from Wilds. Really stole the show. I still feel that Ray Dow could be a flagship monster. Anyway, it's that super beam shot with a ridiculous explosion behind it. Imagine if it was doing that in Wilds. After that we also have Namiel, so back from say World, but obviously with a bit of electricity behind it. It's hanging in the air here and slamming down with like a single ball like a Rasengan from Naruto. Crazy. But that spreads out in these little waves that explode with electricity. Very recent reveal then, we have Malzeno from Rise, obviously Sunbreak, the sort of flagship there. Absolutely incredible. A lot of people hoping for the sort of primeval version as well. You've got all the curios. It generates this ridiculous red beam laser, which somehow grows in size on the explosion. The Shogun Crab is back as well from Rise. This is actually the back of the head that's charging up, which launches itself into the air for it to come back down and swipe with. We also have Arkveld and a tiny glimpse of what appears to be the Kinship animation with a couple chain slams. Looking forward to seeing the full version of that. And of course we also have Magnum Mallow, two flagships right next to each other, and Magnum Mallow remains awesome, in this case doing the dive bomb, just super juiced up. Lastly, for new Kinships that we get a look at, or new additions to Stories 3, it's obviously Ratha here, which is also, you know, a returning Monstie. Just this is our new version of it. It leaves a blue trail behind as it goes into the air and comes slamming down with a kind of fire tornado being generated after. For this next section then, we have a couple more new Monsties, but ones where we don't have like a look at their kinship, but new for Stories 3 anyway, like Ajarakan as an obvious example, because yes, very recent addition in Wilds is also going to be here in Stories 3, which is pretty cool. And we have this screenshot from a raw gameplay section, say at the recent Festa, to get absolute confirmation on that Monstie status. Another one recently revealed was Odogron. We have seen people wearing the Odo armor, so, you know, it makes sense. But from this preview event by a YouTuber called Errorlass, they turned around and just looked at an Odo. In fact, I believe that's an Ebony Odogaron. So maybe the regular version and the Ebony version will be in the game. Another screenshot clip from the Festa is Almudron from Wilds, of course. And as one of my favorite monsters back in Rise, I'm happy to see it in any other Monster Hunter game. Here's one that was shown during the announcement trailer, Raknakadaki. That's very much a monster there, but likely a Monstie in terms of potential, because we also saw an NPC wearing the full armor set in a different moment during some trailer footage. So pretty hopeful for that one. But now we get to the big list of returning Monsties that have previously been seen in a Stories game, and let's start with ones we've seen kinship animations of, because all of this comes from, say, the demo. So that's the familiar Velocidrome. We also, of course, have Yan Kukku and the blue version as well, with familiar kinships here, firing off this triple fireball at once. Pretty humble compared to some of the absolute ridiculous animations we're going to have a look at in just a moment. We have Gypsaros in the basic version as well as the purple version, blinding the target before appearing in the sky to send down some delightful poison. The purple version doing much the same, by the way. We have Nerzilla returning to the game with this incredible animation of swinging through the trees, leaping up into the air before piercing down with the horrible needle. Of course, we have Anjanath, which has been seen in a lot of different footage, and of course in the demo as well, with a very familiar, ridiculous running through the woods, leaping off a cliff and slamming down, and then just kind of carving the ground with fire. Incredible. We have the Royal Ludroth also back, doing some beautiful swimming before spinning in the air like a corkscrew. Another brilliant animation there. Of course, fan favorite, we have Toby Kadachi from World, running down the side of a tree like a squirrel, of course, before charging up and leaping with a front flip filled with lightning. We have Paolumu back as well, hanging in the air like a balloon. Some zero gravity effects here with all the debris around it, being blasted at the target from above. Of course, we're seeing the return of various Rathians. We have the Rathian, we have the Pink Rathian. We've even seen quite a few examples of the Dread Queen as well. Rathian being more fire-based here in its attack. But of course, the Dread Queen has a bit of a different animation, doing the backwards flip with that horribly poisonous tail, arcing through the air at the target, before bringing the tail down for a double assault. Other monsters confirmed are, say, Legiana, with this companion animation, with a very familiar animation here, creating a sort of circle around the target, and a slightly different animation for your version with this companion, before raining these ice shards down on the target. Another companion animation, this one's for Puke, but it is a very familiar animation. Raining poison from above, and you're protected by the Puke with its tongue. Gravios is also going to be back with another companion animation, swimming through this lava before charging the ridiculous beam explosive shot into whatever the hell was waiting for that. Now, as been talked to death over the last week, the Brachydios kinship is back with its familiar, ridiculous, historic look back in black and white of all the different training it's done so it can do this ridiculous punch at the same time as the rider. It remains one of, if not arguably, the best kinship in the series. Another returning option is the Palamute, which was referred to as the canine in a lot of examples. Whatever you want to call it, you can get it in all the different colours again. But it does have an awesome animation where it leaps into the air and throws that huge shuriken, cleaving through the air and apparently breaking the world. Still looks awesome though. And lastly for this, we have Devil Joe. This is thanks to some preview footage from Gamer Braves. Devil Joe ignores its current meal to leap up into the air and scream with dragon fury before opening that more wide and landing on the target. Next up then, we have more returning monsters that we've seen but without like kinship footage. So we definitely know that we're getting Azuros back, and we can even see Kezu and Red Kezu in different moments, like on the map here. Of course, we're also going to get Mizutsune, as shown in various Hunter Notes footage we've got, and in a trailer, a little bit of what looks like its kinship section. We're also getting Yan Garuga back, as we saw here in the Hunter Notes. To no one's surprise, Nagakuga's coming back as well, as we see a tiny section of its kinship during a trailer, still looking incredible. To everyone's relief as well, we are getting Lagarcrus back, fan favourite as shown in Hunter Notes, and actually in different versions as we'll get into in a moment, but we have seen it in trailers swimming underwater with a rider on the back. Astalos is also back, one of my favourite of the Fated Four, as we've seen in these Hunter Notes. And say on the map here, we have Seragios, which was also seen as a monster in different footage as well. But again, thanks to Gamer Braves for some of their preview footage. They showed a couple things we can look at, such as the Bolt Reaver Astalos being confirmed, the Silver Wind Naga Cougar, and Ivory Lagarcus as well on top of that. Another monster we've had confirmed was the reveal of Glavenus, with a companion riding it and doing a bit of a kinship animation. We know that Zinogre is going to be back from a few sources, like this key art, which looks amazing by the way. You can see Zinogre in the top corner there. Or during one of the trailers, we see a good chunk of its kinship animation, not in full. Now, a monster that we spotted during the Festa showcase as they were flying over a desert, just down at the bottom, you can just spot a Kula Yaku walking around. Maybe in a similar area, we also find Tigrex, who was shown during the Restoration trailer. We get this little glimpse of it, mid-animation, probably during the kinship here, but again, a quick moment to show. And last up for this section, we also have Diablos, who's shown just kind of chilling out in maybe the same desert area during the pre-order trailer. Moving on, we now have the extremely likely section, only two to mention for this. First is Goss Harag from Rise. This seems very likely because of this hilarious haircut. It's the Goss Haragi haircut. I mean, come on. If it's not in the game as a monster or a monster, that'd be a crime. But yeah, seems very likely. And the other thing is Luna Garon. During a dev walkthrough, we see this egg being held up that really looks like it should belong to a Luna. They are teasing it here in this moment, asking what kind of monster is going to hatch from this egg. The double blue pattern seems like it matches up very well, so we'll see. Then to end us off, we have the possible ones, just ones not confirmed or seen, such as Rathalos. I mean, we have all the Rathians, there's Ratha. It'd be confusing and random for them not to have a regular Rathalos in the game. There's Baroth, as it seems very likely as we've seen one in the previous games. And plenty of people were talking about Nibblesnarf, which, you know, showed up in a trailer, but is very likely just a monster. Would be cool if it was a monster though. Oh, and yes, they teased Nawa and Ibushi. But at the same time, it seems very likely that that will just be an enemy, a monster, much like we saw Yama being a monster to fight as well. But yeah, there you have it. That's my overview of everything Monstie and a lot of kinships to look at as well, from everything we currently know with the public info. If I've missed anything, let us know in the comments, but not long now until the full release. Until next time then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.